What's up, guys? Welcome back to Majestic. I'm excited to finally be back bringing you more Revit tutorials. We're finally in Revit 2020. That's kind of cool. I'm excited. I'm thinking in a few months, after everyone's gotten a chance to use it and test it out and see what's good, what's bad, I'll put out a video of the new features and what we're using and why. But right now, it's another episode of every Revit tool. And so in this episode, we're going to look at the wall joins tool in the geometry section here in the modify tab. So wall joins, it's just going to affect how you have all your walls joining together and the different configurations you can get with joining walls in different situations. So what I've got laid out here is it's really a mess of walls, and this is mainly done to give an example of different kinds of wall joins and maybe some different situations that you might run into where you need to join walls a different way. But right after we click the wall joins tool here, you'll look at this bar and we've got a configuration with cycling through different walls. We've got a butt, a miter, and a square off option for wall joins. We ultimately have a display option and the ability to allow or completely disallow the join. So after clicking the tool, when I hover over different walls that are currently joined, or in this case, wall ends work, or walls joined together work. After I click on this tool, I get this square box that's going to highlight over these walls, and this is basically where I can affect the joins of these walls. So let's start in the corner. I'm going to actually eventually go through most of these situations and we can explore the different options we have and what we might get when we cycle through the options of different wall joins in these different situations. So just looking at the corner, you can see I have the wall join selected when I've got these lines of this wall connecting through to the other wall that it's currently joined to. That tells me that I have the option to change the wall joins up here. Now you can see I have the option to change from a butt to a miter, and as I do that, you can see this. I now have a 45-degree miter, square off. I don't end up using square off in a lot of situations because honestly, in most situations and in most wall joins, the square off is going to give you the exact same look as the butt. So by default, it's set to butt, and that's probably what you're going to use most of the time. So I will say that I'm going over wall joins, and I don't end up having to use the wall joins to all that much, which is good because it can be kind of confusing, but it is for specific situations to where you need walls to join a different way that Revit's going to default join them together. So as far as the display, I have the option to do a clean join or to not do a clean join or just use the view setting. And again, this is another situation where oftentimes I find myself just simply using the view setting because that is the default option, and very rarely do I find myself having to actually go and say, oh, I need the clean join, or I specifically don't want a clean join in this situation. So yeah, you can see we could cycle through. This previous and next are used to actually cycle through the different walls joining together. And so I've got, because I have only two walls joined together in this area, when I hit next and previous, I don't actually cycle to another wall join. And we'll get to a situation like that here in a minute. If I move over here to these walls, because these walls are extending beyond, I actually have the option to choose a wall join for the end of this wall, but because this wall, the end of the wall is not actually joined to some other wall, I only have the option to allow or disallow the join. So right now, because this wall is currently allowable to join, I can extend this wall all the way to the exterior wall there, and you can see how it actually joins very nicely. And this is going to happen by default. There's nothing you have to do or go out of your way to do. But if you notice within the structure of the walls and within the wall layers and the structure of the wall itself, the the elements in the wall that fall within the structure are going to automatically join. And that is this Revit default, and it's basically how you'd actually have a wall be constructed. And that it's good to just know that. So I'm going to pull this wall out again and go back to the wall join tool and actually disallow this join. And so as I do that, you can see once I select this wall, I now have this little T option here, this T, and that's going to allow me to quickly allow the join again if I, for some reason, need that wall to join again. So with this wall, the end of the wall here, having disallowed the join, I'm going to drag this wall over to the wall, this exterior wall once again, and you can see it completely disregards this exterior wall, and I can put this anywhere, and it does not care. Moving back to another example here, I have the option to use this is a good example of where I might use the miter. So I've got just a standard butt joint and the way these walls wrap around or fur out this CMU wall. This is just a great example where I might use the miter if I want, specifically with the finish or some kind of structure within this fur out wall, that I want these walls to be joined at a 45-degree angle. So again, most of the time I don't end up having to mess with wall joins, but for some specific instances, like having a finish follow this wall and end up mitered at a 45-degree angle, that's can be important when it comes to a detail level. But the reason I don't use this a lot is because ultimately in plan, this is not shown. The way the walls are joined are not shown in plan, miter versus butt or whatever it may be. So let's get to a place that it might actually matter. So I've got a mess of walls here that are converging at this point, and when I hover over with the wall joins tool, I have the option to basically just select this one area, and this is just where all these walls are converging. And now I've set this up in a particular way so we can see different examples of way these walls might be joined. And for example, maybe I want this interior partition to continue on and not stop, not have these CMU walls get in the way and stop these interior partitions. So with the wall joins tool selected, I've actually selected this wall in this entire configuration here. You can tell it's selected because this wall is been picked up, and I now have the options to change this wall configuration. So like before, I've got the butt option and the miter and the squared off option, and you can see how that works with that CMU wall. But you can also see now as I cycle through these different possibilities of wall joining that things start to change a bit, and this will allow you to get really the way the wall needs to be constructed, or maybe you have a specific design in mind for all of these walls together, or maybe you're dealing with some existing walls, maybe these CMU walls are existing and you need to get these new partitions working together correctly. And cycling through here is going to allow you to eventually get to that situation. Now, I'm hoping you don't have a situation like this where you have all of these walls coming together and it's just a mess. But I've changed it to miter, and because I've now changed it to miter, it's as I'm cycling through, it's going to cycle with the miter in mind. So maybe that's a little more what I want. So where I have these interior partitions continuing through, and the structure of the CMU wall is stopping at the metal stud layer of these interior partitions. So I say that's really more of what I was going for here. So I will finally get into the part of wall joins that I end up using the most. Basically the most valuable part of wall joins, most practical part for me, is when I'm dealing with existing conditions. So I'm going to make these two walls, these two exterior walls, existing. So now they're existing, they're grayed out, and maybe I've got a new fur out partition that's going to butt up right against the edge of these existing walls. And so by default, I've got if you look at the wall joins of both ends of this wall, I currently have the allow join option selected, and that is again by default. So let's say I'm going to continue this wall to the end here, and you can see when I do that, that this wall joins to the existing wall in a way that you wouldn't actually have that constructed. So yes, maybe you want for some reason to chip out some of the CMU and have the metal stud run into this existing CMU wall. Generally speaking, if you're doing a finish out with existing conditions, this is not the way walls will be constructed. So a lot of times for walls joining together from existing to new construction, especially when I'm doing some kind of interior finish out or something like that, I'll go ahead and for all these new constructed walls, I will go ahead and disallow the join. And by disallowing the end of that wall to join, it's going to actually end up like it would be constructed. So again, very simple concept. It's more of how the wall looks in the end because I need this wall to look correct in plan, at least from a plan level, but when I get to the details I can figure it out a little later on. But at least for now the plan shows that this wall is being constructed correctly because it's not joining into that wall. And again, I can always go back and I can allow the join, and I'm going to get that undesirable join into this existing wall. But so I guess one last thing that we can look at is if I go to 3D, you can see these mess of walls in 3D, and using the wall join tool in 3D works the exact same as it does in 2D actually. And you can see I have all these different options and places that I can affect the wall joins, and it's as if I were in plan still. It's something to note as well is that this square that shows up to highlight the walls is going to be at the associated level of these walls. So if I click on one of these walls, you can see that base constraint, that level, associated level, is on level 1. And to demonstrate this a little further, I'm actually floating this wall that is 5 feet above the base level. And so it was not showing up in plan, although when I go to wall joins, I still actually have the option to affect the ends of the walls and the wall joins of that wall floating above my cut line in my plan view. So it is kind of nice that you can use the wall joins tool in 3D to get some of the same results that you need, because for a case like this, maybe this wall is floating well above your floor plan cut line and you need to change the different wall joins, or maybe it's a fur down, a ceiling, you're furring down the ceiling and you need to work with it in 3D. I do like working in 3D, and I'm glad the wall joins will allow you to do that. We can look at it one last way, and that's simply through the section. Now I don't think I've ever done this, but for demonstration purposes I'm going to go ahead and show this. So I'll make this section here and go to the section view, and if I click the wall joins, you can barely see there, but the bottom of these walls are highlighting, which means I do have the option to use the wall joins tool in section if I want to. Again, I don't think that's something I've ever done. That's going to be a very particular case that I would do that, because I honestly would not recommend that. But as far as I know, that's really all you should need to know on wall joins, especially starting off. But please let me know if you have any questions, and you're welcome to leave those in the comment section. I'm going to answer every comment, and I really thank you for watching, and stay tuned. We'll be back with more Revit tutorials. We're going to eventually cover every tool. Thanks for watching.